What's going on, guys? It's Michael MGF, and today I'm going to be doing another custom LEGO minifigure showcase video. And this time I've got all three of the main characters from Grand Theft Auto 5, Michael DeSanta, Trevor Phillips, and Franklin Clinton, and I really would have loved to have these guys done sooner. I know the game already came out way back in September, but you would not believe how many figures I work on at once, and for me personally, Grand Theft Auto 5 really has yet to get old for me because the amount of endless fun that that game provides in such an open world is unbelievable, and that's what the single player did for me. That was the most fun that I had had in a single player in a long time, and I played the crap out of the single player. I have like 87%, not 100%, but close enough for me. And it is just seriously an unbelievable game in all regards, so that's why I wanted to make the three main characters from it to do them justice in LEGO form. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at all three of these psychopaths. Actually, just a second, I just wanted to mention to you guys that rated videos might be a little bit slow. It was pretty consistent the past couple of weeks with all those reviews I was throwing at you guys, but I'm kind of in the middle of moving, so I'll do my best to not let that stop me from doing videos, but just, you know, please understand that when you're in the middle of moving an entire house, it can be difficult to sit down and record videos like this. So do apologize for that, but I will be officially moved into the house and all settled in by around February 7th. So until then, bear with me, and I just wanted to mention that. But now, let's go ahead and take a look at all three of these Grand Theft Auto 5 figures. Okay, so starting off with Michael, and I gotta say, Michael was probably the most difficult out of the three simply because of his head. You can see his hairpiece alone, that took about 30 minutes of sanding. When I say sanding, I mean this hairpiece is what it originally was. So it was one of these spiked hair pieces that, like I said, I sanded at for a good 30 minutes to an hour, and finally got it into the shape of Michael's hair, and it definitely turned out looking pretty nice, and I'm pretty satisfied with it, as you know, it looks pretty close to Michael's hair. And you'll also notice that his face, that is not an actual face, that is completely hand painted by me, and there really isn't any face out there that really matches Mr. DeSanta, so I decided to have at it myself. Definitely glad I did, as I think it resembles him quite nicely, and the same can be said for the torso. You might notice that this isn't like usually Michael would wear like blues and more tropical colors, but I decided that I would go with his red shirt as seen on various you know, promotional artwork for Michael, and I think it honestly was a better idea because given that Franklin's shirt is already blue, having two blue shirts honestly wouldn't have really looked right if you ask me, and that's why I wanted to have some color variety, thus having Michael's shirt being red. And his entire shirt, the entire front half of his torso, that is all completely painted, and the same can be said for his shoes as well, which are also completely painted. Nothing really special about them though, they're really just black shoes that I painted on, and you can see there's a little bit of detail on his back there, nothing much though. I mean, these characters really just wear basic clothing, it's nothing too insane, so there really isn't a whole lot to talk about here, but you can see he does have these these sleeve cuffs, and these sleeve cuffs on his shirt, rather, and they look pretty nice, and yeah, that's just a little detail that I actually add with most of my characters that have short sleeve shirts. You'll see them have like little, you know, cuffs for their sleeves. And he also has a tiny tactical DFC, which is Delta Force Carbine. And then on top of that, I've got a hollow sight, and it's not really supposed to resemble the assault rifles in Grand Theft Auto 5. It's just kind of like your generic assault rifle that I thought, you know, fit well with the figure. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Michael DeSanta, and definitely a fantastic character in Grand Theft Auto 5, and really happy to have finally recognized him in LEGO. Trevor Phillips, easily the most psychotic out of all three of our Musketeers from Grand Theft Auto 5. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw Trevor, before playing Grand Theft Auto 5 for myself and playing the single player, I didn't really like him as a character because he's just so vulgar and just so horrible and in every way, in his own way, evil, and he's just like the worst person ever. I mean, that's the best way to describe Trevor Phillips. He's just an awful human being, and that's why it was hard for him to grow on me. But when he started interacting with Michael and Franklin in the game, they started blowing things up together and killing people together, and God knows what else that occurred in the single player, he really grew on me, and that's why I wanted to recognize him to my fullest potential in Lego form, and I hope that's what I did here. As you can see here, his torso is completely hand painted. I've got a ton of like oil stains and dirt all over that, with some crinkles in his shirt there, the V-neck outlined in black, and then on the back of his torso you just have more of the dirt effect and the weathering look to it. And really where all of that occurs is on his legs. His legs not only have all the dirt, but on his left leg you'll notice that there is actually a little tear in his pants. And he also has the boots painted on, just basic dark brown boots. And he's even got his signature watch. He doesn't really wear the watch all the time in the game. Obviously, that's customizable. That's optional by you. But he does have the watch that he is seen with in most of Rockstar's promotional artwork for Grand Theft Auto 5. And the dirt effect does continue underneath his arm, as you can see right here. And it's definitely pretty cool, and I think it looks just like the you know, all the dirt that is that appears on his clothing in the game. And you'll notice that his sleeves are not the same as Michael's or Franklin's, and that's simply because his sleeves really aren't the same as theirs. So I decided, instead of making his sleeves look more inaccurate than they appear in the game, or, you know, inaccurate to how they appear in the game, I decided to just paint on a black stripe beneath each you know, sleeve, just sort of to make it look appropriate for the character, because having the sleeve cuff really wouldn't have looked right, and that's why I left it off by just cutting it off with a black line on each one. And if you couldn't already tell, you can also see the dirt does continue onto the sleeves as well. And the grenade launcher that he is wielding is a Brick Arms MGL, as I think Mr. Chapman calls it, but is really just the basic, you know, sort of mainstream grenade launcher, and it is definitely something that I wanted to equip Trevor with. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I almost gave Trevor a blue minigun. I came pretty close to doing that. But to finish these figures quickly, I decided to just cut it short at having a grenade launcher, and the grenade launcher is a fantastic weapon in the game, use it so often, and it actually has a painted scope. If you look on the back of it there, it's just a basic blue scope with like a little white mark to simulate that of like a glare effect, and yeah, so that's pretty much it for his outfit. But the head itself is where everything is going on here, because I put a lot into the head, a lot of thought, and a lot of decision making actually went into the head, and a lot of paint work. And so obviously you all notice it right off the bat. He does not have a three-dimensional hairpiece, and that goes with good reason. I am not as experienced as I would like to be as a sculptor, so making a hairpiece that is like super thin on top, balding as well, it just seemed kind of unrealistic to make the figure look right while doing that. So I decided that I would just go ahead and make it a two-dimensional hairpiece and just paint it on. It's not even a hairy piece, it's just hair at this point, but it still looks accurate to the character, and it still serves its purpose as being Trevor's wacky looking hair. And he does have little hair strands falling off around the top of his sideburns as well, which just to add that sort of level of detail to his hairpiece. And if you couldn't tell, his hair is not a solid black color. It does have gray highlights running throughout all of its entirety. And then you'll notice that the head, unlike Michael and Franklin in this showcase video, his face is not actually painted. That head, I'm not gonna lie guys, I got this head off of Bricklink. I saw it in a Bricklink store, no idea where it came from or what set it's from. I did research on it. I could not find out what head this is from or where this head is from. So if you know, be sure to let me know in the comments, because I couldn't figure it out for myself, and it's pretty embarrassing. But regardless, when I did find this head on Bricklink after being inspired by the moose figs from Flickr to use it, I was like, you know, that really matches the actor behind Trevor, and, you know, it just really looks like that sort of psychotic facial expression that I would want for the figure, and I just thought it would look really perfect. So I was like, gimme, and I used it, and here it is. And I did add my own sort of touch-ups to the front of the face. I added one of his little moles on the left side of his face, as well as some blood stains, one above his right eyebrow, and then to the left, or on the right side of his face, rather. And he also has the two scars right above his left eyebrow as well. So, yeah. Now, something else I want to note on right before we move on to Franklin here is that Trevor actually has the cut here tattoo. So if we just lift up his head a little bit to get a better look at that, you'll notice that he does actually have the cut here tattoo. And really, I didn't actually paint on the actual cut here. I decided to just go ahead and just paint on the lines because the lines really are what matters when it comes to that tattoo. And if I were to paint on the text cut here, you wouldn't have been able to see it. I mean, you wouldn't be able to read it, and it would be practically pointless to do so. So I decided to just leave it at just the actual lining as part of the tattoo. So I know I took a while talking about him, but there's Trevor Phillips. And for the last of my Grand Theft Auto 5 figures, we have Franklin Clinton. And this guy was one that was a little bit of a challenge in his own regard, and that is simply because of his head. I'll get into that in just a moment, but as you can see, Franklin here, I decided to have him sporting his basic default looking outfit, and I should probably mention as well that Trevor was also based off of his default look. So right when you start playing as Trevor, that's what he looks like, and he also wears those same clothes in numerous occasions within the single player, and that the same can be said for Franklin here, as these are the standard sort of generic clothing that you see Franklin wearing across Grand Theft Auto 5 posters and God knows what else, trailers as well. And yeah, so he has his signature button-down shirt, and then underneath that shirt he has his white shirt, and that white shirt being a long sleeve shirt, and you can see it is exposed in 3 sections on the minifigure. One, it is coming down from underneath his blue button shirt, and then you can see it coming out from underneath his main sleeves, and then as well right around his collar. So all of that is completely painted on. The entire front of his torso, that is all hand painted, and I definitely think it turned out looking nice and accurate to his clothing. And the same could be said for the back, which has absolutely nothing on it, so that's fantastic because I went into the game and just to make sure I was, you know, doing it right, and turns out, yeah, he doesn't have anything on his back when he wears this clothing. So if there's nothing on the back, I can't really put anything on the back. So yeah, but you'll notice that he does have the same sleeves that Michael was using, and various figures that I've made who also use those sort of cuffs on the sleeves. As I said, it's sort of like a tradition when I have characters with short sleeves, and you'll notice that these short sleeves here, they are practically the exact same as Michael's, like I said, but in dark blue. So it's just practically the same thing with the sleeve cuffs, but in dark blue to keep the consistency going with his main torso piece. And yeah, so you'll notice he does have these standard, you know, sort of like tan boots that he wears in the game. I forgot the name of them, but I know it starts off with the word desert, and then there are like 3 other words in just the name of his shoes alone. So it's kind of difficult to remember all those little details when it comes to these characters' clothing. But the sniper rifle that he is wielding, I didn't do a whole lot to. It's just a standard minifig cat sniper rifle, but it actually resembles that of the advanced sniper rifle within the game, and in doing so, I decided to go ahead and add in some sort of like gunmetal and silver highlights. You can see right along this area here, that's all filled in with gunmetal paint, and on the opposing side as well. And then you can see we also have the silver scope, which I painted on just for, you know, a little bit of extra detail there. And folding that back here, we do have a sticky bomb. And the sticky bomb was actually a last-minute idea. I finished Michael, Trevor, and Franklin. They were all done, but I was like, you know, I play Grand Theft Auto 5 multiple times a week, and whether it be in single player or in multiplayer, I kill someone or a lot of people with sticky bombs in the game. So I'm like, how can I not make one? So what I did was I took a 1x2 tile piece and just practically painted it to look as accurate to the sticky bomb as possible, and it is actually pretty freaking close. Aside from the fact that there is no countdown set of numbers right in the center there. And honestly, if I were to paint that on, it would probably just look like a bunch of little orange lines that honestly would look out of place, so I decided to just leave it how you see it now, and I'm definitely pretty happy with it, and it can definitely serve to be quite useful, and I'm definitely glad I made it, because the sticky bombs are freaking fantastic in the game, especially when you have enough money to afford them. Rockstar and their cash cards for online. But regardless, you can see to top off this minifigure and everything else I've been talking about with him, we have his head, and his head, was easily the biggest challenge here, because getting these characters' faces to look right, especially when you're hand painting them, can be kind of hard because they have specific looks to them, and these are very iconic characters to not only you guys but to me. So I wanted to make sure I did it right, and in doing so, I finally managed to get the face to look right. I mean, it took me about a good 2 or 3 tries, but I'm really happy with the final results. And yeah, so it's practically just Franklin's face with the eyes, eyebrows, the mouth, and the cheekbones all painted on by me to resemble that of the character as much as possible, and the actor who did the motion capture for him. And yeah, and then you can see he also has the hair painted on similar to that of Trevor. I decided to not use a hairpiece because honestly, he's practically close enough to bald to the point where why should I use a hairpiece? His hair is not thick enough for a hairpiece. So I decided, just like Trevor, to just paint it on. And that's what I did here. And I hope you're okay with that decision because it's honestly for the best. So that's practically it, guys, for my Grand Theft Auto 5 figures. I hope you enjoyed. But without further ado, let's go ahead and conclude this showcase video. Michael DeSanta. There's something I can help you with, officer? Well, according to these squiggly lines, with 7 bank jobs on record, 6 accounts of first-degree murder with use of a golf club, 9 accounts of second-degree murder with use of an assault shotgun, 74 accounts of third-degree murder with a minigun, 25 of our officers confirmed KIA by your personal buzzard, and we also have a report from the FIB stating that a jet was hijacked from the military base in Blaine County. We'll just forward all the rest to your attorney. You're under arrest. Whoa, 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 wait! I lost that wanted level days ago! Oh, alright then. Have a great day, Mr. DeSanta. Pack it up, boys. Okay guys, so that about does it for my custom LEGO Grand Theft Auto 5 showcase video, and I'm really glad that I was finally able to finish all 3 of these guys. And I know, you know, Trevor might have two-dimensional hair, but when I was working on these figures, when I work on all of my figures, when I make decisions like that, it's just for the best, because a 3-dimensional hairpiece honestly would have looked really odd, because the amount of like balding that Trevor has in this area is like outstanding. So that's why I decided to make his hair the way it is. And I definitely think it looks just fine and it serves its purpose. And yeah, so one other thing I want to mention is the Moose Figs on Flickr. He is the one who originally used this face for his Trevor minifigure, and when I saw it, it just really looked like the actor who did all the motion capture and voice acting for Trevor, and I was like, you know what, the expression is perfect too, so I might as well use it too. And yeah, so credit to the Moose Figs from Flickr. Link to his Flickr photo stream will be in the description below. And if you enjoyed this review, this is not a review, but if you enjoyed this showcase video or found yourself inspired to make your own Grand Theft Auto 5 figures, be sure to leave this video a like below, as your support really does go a long way. And I was working on these minifigures for quite some time, and I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to go through with them because it was starting to get, you know, a while past the, you know, the game's launch, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do Michael's hairpiece or his face or Trevor's head. So, you know, I started to lose motivation, but then when I started to get it right, I was like, I can do this. I'm going to finish these guys for you guys. And really glad with their final results, and it's definitely a nice little tribute in LEGO to the amazing game that Grand Theft Auto 5 is and the endless fun that it provides. And yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Links to both of those are also in the description below, and there I post all kinds of behind the scenes photos and updates of what's to come and what I'm working on for this channel. And you'll see a lot more activity over there because these videos take hours upon hours to edit and record. So yeah, definitely recommend that if you want to check that out. But other than that, guys, that's it, and I will see you guys later. Alright, bye! You stole my watch. You know, the game came out back in December, but it came out in September, Ross. What's going on, guys? This is Michael of GF, and today I'm going to do... Damn it, words. I'm noticing now that his freaking grenade launcher is a little bit offset. Please fix that, thank you. Aren't you glad that I don't zoom out? Because you really start to grow on him. That makes a lot of sense, Ross. And the hairpiece took me at least Really? Oh my god. Come on. Really? She has to bark. Right now. Can't be, couldn't have been later. Couldn't have been earlier. Being a customizer isn't that easy. I tried Michael's head multiple times, and this was like, I think, the second attempt.
Sorry you had to see that.